How you doing, guys? Back here once again in this exciting series on the end of the world. I do get excited about things like this, so you might hear that in my voice. So in this part of the series, I'll be dealing with the fact that there's one resurrection. Let's take a look at this in John chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. Jesus speaking, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. So we see it's either life, a resurrection to life, or a resurrection to damnation. And this is talking about, once again, that one day, that last day, ladies and gentlemen, when all shall stand before God. Okay? And we're talking about the believers as opposed to the unbeliever. The believers, it'll be a resurrection of life, and for those who have done evil, a resurrection of damnation. So let's take a look now. We're going to go back to the book of Daniel. And we'll see how Daniel spoke about these same things regarding this last day. Look at Daniel chapter 12. I'm going to read verses 1 and 2. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of troubles, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Okay. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So this is speaking of the same thing. It's either a resurrection of life or shame, ladies and gentlemen. And everyone who's going to be delivered are those who are found written in the book. You know what that's talking about? It's the book of life, you see? So we see that Daniel was basically prophesying of that same time. Very, very interesting, folks. Now, let me go back or forward to the book of Acts. Let's look at verse... Actually, we're going to go to Acts 24 and look at verses... let's look at verses 14 and 15. But this I confess unto thee, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets, and have hope toward God, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and the unjust. So that's found in the book of Acts. And we know here, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the Apostle Paul, formerly Saul, testifying. Okay? Now keep in mind, this man was a deceived man. He had the scriptures. He read his Torah. He had the prophets, the Psalms and Proverbs. Obviously, he didn't have a Bible like we have today, but he knew the scriptures inside out. But we know he didn't believe in the Lord until the Lord saved him. You read the book of Acts, chapter 9, you will find out how he got saved. So Paul is talking about one resurrection, a day when God is going to judge the dead, both the just and the unjust. No separate little judgment here or this judgment. You know, many teachings out there that there are several judgment. Folks, there's one judgment day, and we see this here. Paul is speaking about that also. And I spoke in the earlier segment about Revelation, and I'll briefly go over that here, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's the great white throne, him that sat upon it, and saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And as I spoke earlier in another segment, those are found in the book of life. Those are the saved ones. But those who are not found in the book of life, folks, It says, verse 15, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So that's once again judgment. So I want you to see that, folks. Very important that you see that. One resurrection, and it's to shame or it's to eternal life. I'll stop it right there.